Hello and good evening, afternoon, morning, wherever you're and whenever you're listening to us. You're tuning in to Disney with the Ducks with me, Gene, Jody,
Hi, friends.
Lonnie G,
Hey, everybody.
Jeff,
Hey, everybody.
and our special guest, Caitlin. Some like to call her Katie. We'll see. We'll see how that works out today. Hey, Katie. First of all, before we get into the show, just want to thank everybody for listening. This is episode 93. Apart, even more if you add the other odd episodes we've done. But man, it's just amazing for me to think that we've been doing this for 93 episodes. 93. That's a whole lot. And that's because you guys listen. And we just want to say thank you. And you can say you're welcome by giving us a review, a 5-star review, not a 1-star, not a 2-star, not a 3-star, not a 4-star, but a 5-star review. And if you we welcome any feedback and any kind of any comments or any suggestions, any topics you might want us to cover. Hey, engage with us on Facebook. We've got Instagram. Lonnie never did get that Tinder kicked off, but I think we, every once in a while there's a tickety talk. We just want you to engage with us. We want to hear what you have to say, and we want to talk to you. So we just thank you for that.
I'm sorry.
Uh-huh.
For the record, I did start the Tinder page, the Duck Tinder.
Uh-huh. Okay.
But it was quickly, canceled by my wife. I also started Ducks After Dark, and she came back equally fast and canceled that one. So it's not my fault. Don't make it look like I'm a slacker.
Okay. Well, so that's great. Duck Tenders, is that anything like chicken tenders or no?
Not that page.
Okay. Just checking. All right. So hey, listen. Thanks again. We're gonna get into things today, and as always. Before we have a special guest with us today. We're gonna talk about a little trip that Lonnie and Katie took, and I think Jeff joined them at one point. Katie, you want to tell us a bit about yourself, and then I'm going to kick us off with a little get to know you question.
Yeah. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. As Mean Gene said, my name's Caitlin. Some people call me Katie. I just turned 23. Whew, Lord. And I am a flight attendant for a major U.S. airline, and I'm based in Minnesota. Crazy. A Southern girl turned Midwestern. So.
Cool. And what's your affiliation with the Ducks? I mean, how would you get to know us?
So my dad is an OG Duck. And I would see him. This was I guess last year, and I would.
Is John Kroll your dad?
I think Katie's the one kid that is not John's.
Yeah.
That's good. That's pretty funny right there.
For Lonnie G is my dad, and I would see him with these shirts on that say "Release the Quacken," and I was like, oh, that's cute.
That's what you said, huh?
And I would be like, oh, that's so cute. He's like, oh yeah, we're starting a podcast called Disney with the Ducks. Here's our Facebook group. Join our Facebook. And he's like, here's the Instagram. He was like if he got paid for commission, man, he was selling it. And
brand ambassador, that's what he's doing.
No, yes, brand ambassador. I'm also still waiting on my hat and my jersey, but it's okay. I know it'll come with time. And
Jeff, make that happen. Come on.
I didn't know I needed one. Lonnie has 3 of them. They're just sitting in their glass cases.
It's funny you mentioned that. My wife was doing laundry the other day, and she came out with my grandson's Disney with the Duck shirt on. She says, I don't even have one of these. And I'm like,
well, actually, the thing is that he ordered us shirts. He's like, hey, baby girl, what color do you want? I was like, oh, I'll take the blue one. Give me the blue. And my mom's like, oh yeah, I'll do pink. And they came in, but they were youth sizes, and they were
that was Jeff's fault.
What I do?
You ordered them.
I don't think I did. No.
Yes, you ordered them. You had an official order, and they came in wrong size. They came
That's because Lonnie's used to sending Lonnie a medium.
Yeah, I do like medium. In fact, this shirt is too big. But hey, I want a smaller shirt.
So, hey, thanks, Katie, for being here. We appreciate you joining us, and really looking forward to your trip report. However, first, we have a question. Jody, a lot of times Jody is, you probably caught this by now, those of you that, listeners, but the brains behind this whole operation is Jody. I mean, imagine that. But Jody, a lot of times will come up with a get to know you question, an icebreaker question. Jody, what's our question for today?
What is your favorite thing to do with Thanksgiving leftovers? So we are recording this right before Thanksgiving. And we've talked about our favorite Thanksgiving food and our favorite Thanksgiving pie. But let's talk about after Thanksgiving. What do you like to do with those leftovers? So are you doing a little friend scenario, where he made the sandwich? Do you guys remember the sandwich got stolen out of the refrigerator? I don't know if you remember that one. Or do you make a plate of food? So I'd love to hear everybody's favorite way to prepare Thanksgiving leftovers, because this is important information. Very important.
Very much so.
Very serious.
Yeah.
So Jody, you tell us, what do you do?
Well, first I get out the fork and the knife and I stab my other humans in the house and keep them away from the leftovers because it's all for yourself. Like everybody's going after them. So you kind of have to corner the market and scoop out your own scoops of what you really want and make sure that they don't take all the good stuff. Right. So it's a little bit of, I don't know, you gotta look out for yourself here. But since I'm the one who cooks it all, I feel like I deserve the first dibs of the leftovers.
Yeah, I like that established dominance.
You got to do what you got to do. So make a small plate of all the samplings and heat it up type of girl, and have a leftover roll from the night before and use that to sop up all of the goodness. So I make a little sampling of everything from the night before. So I got to have my turkey and my gravy and my dressing and my green beans, but not green bean casserole because that's gross. But then you got to heat that all up, and the sweet potatoes, and you got to heat it up. And then you have to have your cold cranberries, right? Because the cranberries can't get heated. So that's where the dilemma happens. Is like that can't be, in the microwave. And then you eat it all, and then you take the roll and you smush all that up together, and you eat the very last thing. It's perfect.
I think we need to figure out how to cut the sound effect out and add that somewhere. That was fantastic.
It is best. I do like the sandwiches too, but definitely the whole leftover plate is my fave. Something about it tastes better the next day too. Maybe because I haven't been slaving over the oven all day. I don't know.
It marinates. The
Yeah,
seasoning sinks in.
It does. I agree. I agree. So that's my answer.
Ah, good deal. What about you, Katie?
Oh, Katie next. Yes, of course.
It depends, because the sweet potato casserole is like the first thing to go in the house, like the first thing to go. So, but on the rare occasion that it is still around by like the second or third day, I'm kind of like you, Jody, but without the roll and without the
sound effect.
Cranberry. Yes. And I consistently warm it. Like you have to put it in there, warm it, and then like take it out and do like the lip test, kind of like you said, and then put it back in the microwave, because like everything warms at different intervals and different temperatures. But honestly, I think we're a freezing kind of family. Usually everything gets eaten, but usually the gumbo is like the only thing that we're like, oh, let's just freeze it. And but since I moved away from home, I will say I will be quick to go to Walmart and get some to-go plates and put them in a freezer, wrap them up before I go back to Minnesota. And I'll just go through security and everything, be like, hey guys, hey. Oh, don't mind that. That's just my leftovers.
You won't be the only person traveling, I think, with leftover plates.
Yeah. For sure.
All right, Jeff, what do you do with leftovers?
I tend to make kind of like a layered bowl where the mashed potatoes are on the bottom, then the noodles, and then the turkey, and then
noodles. Oh yeah, you and your noodles. I forgot about this.
Yeah, we don't need to rehash this again. But we kind of just layer everything, then gravy over top of everything. And like Jody, I go with a roll at the end as well.
Gotta get the last little bit out of there.
That is with the minimal leftovers we typically have. Usually we kind of graze all throughout the day on Thursday. So just somebody will go out and grab something and put it back, and then you go looking for it, and that dish is already gone. So, but
that's a sad day when you go to like
right. You think you had just a little bit of something in there, and you open the fridge, and that
it's
gone.
Sad
right.
Day. Sad day. All right, Lonnie G, what's your favorite thing to do with Thanksgiving leftover?
Like Caitlin says, we just, if something's left, we usually fix another plate the next day. It does taste a little better the second day. Gumbo, usually my wife makes a big pot of gumbo, so that's the thing that lasts a little bit longer. But we start off with the gumbo, we end with the gumbo. So usually I just make another plate, and Jeff, hit me with the sound effect.
That's what I do. Emotions too.
I do. And I go ahead and I eat that, So, but we don't. It doesn't stay around too much longer. We usually have a big Thanksgiving thing. I think we have 12 people here. They start to get here. I think Tuesday night is when the first influx of guests get here. So, yeah, we don't have. It's survival of the fittest.
And
now that I've been officially designated a Gaines, am I invited to come over for the weekend too?
You sure are, but just remember,
you won't be sorry.
You got to get in where you fit in. Just bump somebody and just get in there and get it.
All right.
You won't be sorry.
Oh yeah, Gene has come and he's eating.
You will not be sorry. The first time I ever met Irie, she fed me dinner. It was great. I came in. I was came in to work with Lonnie, and I stayed at their house. And I came in and she said, "Here, pull it. Sit down here." And she put a plate of food in front of me, and it was, it was amazing. So you won't be disappointed. I promise you. You should go.
All right, Gene.
I guess I'm last. Yeah. So I do. I mean, I make a plate, and heat everything up like everybody else, like every other normal human, except I love the leftover ham. When we're finished with lunch or whatever, we usually have a late lunch usually for Thanksgiving, and we slice the ham and put it in a Ziploc bag and put it in the fridge. And same thing with the turkey. You pull apart the turkey, and I make a sandwich out of the ham on just Wonder Bread. Like soft white bread with mayo and maybe if I'm feeling it, a slice of American cheese. Just a little slice of Kraft. Same thing with the turkey. Mayo, maybe a little mustard, maybe not. Just depends on how I'm feeling. But definitely the mayo and the soft white bread. Dark meat, and maybe a slice of cheese, and it is amazing. You got to pull that soft bread off the roof of your mouth. It's just amazing. I love it so much.
But see, Gene's winning on that one. But I will say one thing, Gene. What do you do with the ham bone?
Oh, you got to do some beans, man.
There you go.
Some beans.
Some red beans. Ooh,
that's right. Or white beans. Yeah.
Either one.
That's the way to go. Some pintos.
Take that bone. Take that bone, stick it in, even if it's a honey ham, still just gives it a good flavor.
Yeah.
I make bean soup with our ham bone. I always have to keep them.
Yeah.
They're good. Very good.
I have
all right.
Show.
Well,
now I'm hungry.
Yeah, now I'm hungry too. And I already ate dinner, but I made good shrimp for dinner tonight. But anyway, sometimes though,
I said pinto beans. I meant butter beans. I'm sorry. I messed up.
You messed up your beans, Gene.
Yeah.
Thrown off the show now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Hey, just as an aside, you can cut this out later, Jeff, if it's not appropriate. But we talk about food sometimes, and we've talked about the Mississippi pot roast. My wife did Mississippi, like basically chicken in a gravy and with the pepperoncini peppers, and it was on time. You heard?
Was it legit?
Oh, too legit to quit. I'm just saying.
Boom. There you go. You notice I just set Gene up. I just underhand the pitch for him. Boom. Knocks out the park.
Softball.
Good job.
Every time.
All right. So we were talking about food.
And
then we had a race, right, Gene?
Yes, we did.
Was there a race that happened about food and wine, maybe? Gene?
Were there butterflies involved?
There were probably in South America. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, so we got a trip report, and this is not my sweet spot, but Jody is an awesome question asker. So we're gonna let Jody kind of lead the charge in getting a rundown on the trip report.
I see what you did there, the rundown. Look at that.
You like that?
I did.
I didn't even plan any of that. It's just happens.
So thankful it does. Well, this kicked off the Run Disney race season. Wine and Dine is the first of the races. So that's in November. Marathon weekend is in January. The week after marathon weekend this year is Disneyland, which has been really hot on our list because we've been chatting nonstop every single morning about what dining we were trying to book. After Disneyland, then there's Princess. And after Princess, they wrap up the season with Springtime Surprise. So this is the big launch of Run Disney Race Weekends. And it is food and wine themed, and you could talk about the different races, but why don't we start about talking about who was there? Which ducks actually attended this event?
Well, I went, of course, and this was Caitlin's first Run Disney race, right? So this is what she wanted for her
Yeah.
birthday. Her birthday was a couple of weeks ago, and she said, "Hey, I want to do a Run Disney race."
Thank you.
And I was like, "Hey, there you go. I know the perfect one, the same month. Let's sign up for this wine and dine," and that's what we did.
Yeah.
And Jeff, were you there also?
I decided about the week before that I would go down and cheer on the fellow runners, and booked my flights and booked my room, and ended up going down just for the 10K and a half. Got in late Friday night, home late Sunday night. So yep, I became an honorary Gaines and toured the parks with the Gaines family on Saturday, and we'll get to that here in a few minutes. But yep, I was down there for a couple of days as well.
That's awesome. All right. So Caitlin and Lonnie, you all arrived on what day? So the races were, I'm going to go backwards in time because that's the way I have to think about them. Sunday was the half. Saturday was the 10K. Friday was the 5K, which meant Thursday was the expo. I guess drum roll. Did your flight arrive and did you make it on time? Unlike a marathon weekend, did you arrive before 3 a.m.?
Yes. Since I was flying with a flight attendant on a major carrier, I got to support where she works. It arrived on time. In fact, it arrived, I think, 20 minutes early.
It did.
Right.
It
So
did
we're early, and which was fantastic. We got to, and I'll go back. We were staying at Animal Kingdom Lodge. We were staying at Jumbo House this time. So we got to Jumbo, I think, right around 1 o'clock, and then hopped on the bus and went over to the expo.
Yeah.
Was that was Thursday? You guys arrived on Thursday?
Yes, ma'am. Arrived on Thursday.
Awesome. And by the way, this race weekend was the weekend of daylight savings, so that was November 3rd, 4th, 5th, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's an easy way to remember. This race traditionally happens on that Sunday. It always goes back, right? So it always happens for daylight savings time, which is cool because it does give you that extra hour to sleep. Even though Caitlin says she don't, she said, "I don't remember that extra hour." I say, "Trust me, you had it." But so yeah, so we got there, checked into Jumbo House, did the online check-in. We stayed in the DVC rooms. That's a home resort for us. Then we headed over to the expo. We actually, when we landed, I got a boarding queue for the expo. We still have to do that. And by the time we got there and checked into our room, it was our time to come to the expo. So we went straight to the expo.
All right. So Caitlin, tell us a little bit about your running background. Have you done many races before? 5Ks, 10Ks, half marathons, local races, or?
I would like to believe that I have. But I did track in middle school. I did track 7th and 8th grade, and I did the long distance. But I think back then it was only like the 1 mile and like the 2 mile maybe, and I did hurdles, but that was like a one and done. And I did the 4x4, and that was it. So that's kind of like my running background. But then, whenever my dad would get into the burst of training, I'd be like, yeah, I can do that. I can do it. Everything that he can do. And I would just get on the treadmill and run, and 3 miles in, I'd be like, oh my gosh, I'm so tired. Running is so exhausting.
That's usually for my 1 mile is I'm exhausted. So you're doing better than me.
I'm not as young as I was back in the day. But we did the.
That's the 23-year-old. This is now a comedy show. So.
Thank you. I'll be here all night. We did the Castaway Key 5K, and I was like, "Oh, Dad, my first Disney race, but also not my first Disney race." I was like, "Let's go run it," and he was like, "Girl, you're gonna see when it's 90 degrees and it's sweltering." He's like, you can run it, but like, I'll see you at the finish line.
That one's hard.
It was hot too. It was like the surface of the sun on that one. Jody knows, she runs it all the time.
Yeah.
It was
That
so
runway
hot.
that just goes out there just never seems to end.
It doesn't.
Oh,
It's a mirage.
and there's like no shade and just
Shade.
so bad.
And I've watched like Run Disney vlogs, so I kind of knew like the I guess the vibe of like, oh, you get up super early, you wait in a corral, like there are people dress up, like you run the race, you get a medal. But I don't think like videos can quite prepare you for like the real life experience of standing in a corral for with a ton of people.
So I asked about this because I took my daughter for her 16th birthday for her first Run Disney experience, and we did Princess last year. And it started for her in the amazement at the expo, because she's been to expos with us before for local races, whether it's the Flying Pig or the Heart Mini or whatever. And, you know, that's a big room and you walk around and there's all these vendors. But the expo for Disney consists of 3 separate buildings. And it's gigantic and it's exhausting and it's really big. So tell me about your expo experience. Were you, you know, how did that work for you? Was it chaotic? Was it, you know, tell me about a little bit about that.
Yeah, so at first, I knew there was a lot of pre-planning for this, but I was just blown out the water because we got off the flight and my dad was like, "Okay, I got us in the queue for the expo," and I was like, "Oh, you don't just show up like we paid? Like I don't." Okay, that's cool. Like the queue, that's fine. And it was like, you know, we had to wait and everything, and then, you know, like you could go into the other expos, but you couldn't go into the official merch expo until it was your time. But it was great. It was a great experience. I think when we first arrived, we went and got our bibs. And I was like bouncing off the walls. I was so excited. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's my first race. I was just telling everyone that. I was like, it's my first half. It's my first half. And it was a blast. Like picking up the bibs, I will say it's a very seamless process. It's just like knowing like where to pay attention to like the numbers and everything. That was very seamless. Of course, my dad's a veteran, so it was very easy for him to be like, okay, like we're going there, and I was like, yeah, I'm on it. Like, roger that. But it was very seamless overall. And the lines for the pictures weren't as bad as I thought they were going to be. Our first Disney trip that me and my family took, we only did characters. We only did characters and signatures, and I was used to waiting in line like an hour and a half just to take a picture with a character. But like as fast as they were moving, I was very surprised. I was like, oh man, you get like 2 words in and like there's click and like you're gone. And I was like, oh, this is great. This is good. And I think we got to see Bruno. And we took pictures with all the numbers. That was on my bucket list. I did want pictures with the numbers. And there was like Alice and the Mad Hatter and Belle there, which correlated with the race themes. And
so I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but just for listeners to explain, at the expo, when you go to pick up your bibs, when you go to the 3 different buildings, they have PhotoPass photographers there, and there's different opportunities to get pictures. There's pictures with characters, but there's also, they set up the 3.1, the 6.2, and the 13.1, and a marathon weekend, the 26.2, and then the different challenge numbers depending on the race. And you can go and get your photos taken. And the numbers are, I don't know, they're bigger than, I mean, I'm short, but they're taller than I am. So they make for a great photo op. So if you've never been to a run days, that's a great word, a Run Disney race weekend, make sure you spend a little bit of extra time at the expo to take advantage of those photo opportunities.
Good deal.
Highly recommend. Highly.
So you survived the expo. You made it through all the places.
It wasn't that bad. Like, I don't know what I was anticipating, but it wasn't that. But I thought it was very easy, very quick. People were very nice and welcoming and order like, oh, you want to take a picture with your dad? Oh yeah, that would be great. I think the toughest part was the merchandise, like the official merchandise. Like they didn't have like the the medals as pins. They didn't have those. They their pins weren't like, I don't know if like we just came like too late, but like their pin game wasn't that strong. But it's okay. But it's okay. But like the other merch that they had was very nice. They had like variety. I got me a magnet that said like, it was like the generic wine and dine weekend magnet. It's sitting on my fridge right now. And I got the jacket. I will say, I like, you can tell like certain things are more popular than others because the wine and dine have like jacket zip up was so popular. And like some of the spirit jerseys were popular. Um, it was definitely a lot of the challenge stuff that was definitely like flying off the shelves. Per se. So.
Yeah, and I can say, I spoke to some friends that were going to the expo and they got there first thing in the morning, right? But they didn't get in with the Club runDisney, so they was the first group after Club runDisney, and the challenge pins and stuff. To Katie's point, were already gone. And I think what they said was there's a combination of course, ordering enough, still having supply chain issues, but everybody's pre-ordering now, so that once they fill all the pre-orders, they put what's left on the floor. I think the challenge pin had 36, she said, that they told her that they put on the floor for that wasn't pre-ordered. That's all they had left, 36, and it was sold out with the Club runDisney. So my advice is, if you are a pin collector, make sure you pre-order to get what you want, because if not, you may not get it. So yeah,
that's a fail on my part for Disneyland because I didn't do that, and my little guy's a pin collector, so a little bummed about that. But maybe they'll have more. Who knows? So
I'm hoping they will have more, because it's been a long time, 5 years since Disneyland or so. So I'm hoping that they would order a lot more with the anticipation of how exciting it is to go back to Disneyland.
all right, so this is Thursday, so Expo Day. What else did you do that day?
That's it.
Walt Disney World, right? So
we spent a good amount of time at the expo. I wanted her to see everything, go from building to building, go get her shirts, take as many pictures as she wanted to take. So we finished up, I think we got there at about 1:30. I think we finished about 3:30 or 4, and we decided to go and hang out at the resort and just kind of tour the resort.
Nice.
Yeah.
And grab something to eat there and do that kind of thing.
Okay, important question. We've got a lot of foodies on this show, a lot of people who worry about food. Where and what did you eat that first day?
So we were torn. We were like, oh, like, let's go to Disney Springs. But we were like, man, like, by the time we get there and like find something to eat, that's like an hour and a half from now. And so my dad was like, well, like, we have to get up early in the morning. And, we kind of just went back and forth. And I was like, we'll get to Disney Springs, like, let's just eat downstairs. I think it was the Mar. I think that's what it was called. And
the quick service there.
Yes, the quick service. And I got the chicken tenders. The duck tenders, as was referenced here. And my dad got the burger. My dad got the burger.
Yep. And zebra domes. Got to go with the zebra domes.
No, that was the second day. The
second day?
Yes,
so you didn't get the zebra dome that I got. My bad.
No.
Womp womp.
We didn't get any dessert the first night.
We didn't.
Somebody maybe had in some truth here.
Like, it was a very early morning, and consistently the entire weekend, I was out by like 6, 7. I was like showered in the bed, eyes closed. Like, I'm like fighting sleep, and like all I'm hearing is my dad go in and out the room. I'm like, what is he doing?
Go and get zebra domes. You go to sleep. I had to give me a snack.
I was out like a light. It like wasn't even funny. Like, it wasn't even funny.
So day 2, 5K day. It's funny, when we registered for this, I asked Katie, what you want to do? You want to do the 5K? You want to just do the 10K? She said, I want to do it all. I'm like, what, a challenge? She says, no, everything. I want to run it all. So we did the 5K. Started off with that. That was her race. So I'll turn it over to you to Katie, what do you think about your 5K experience?
It was great. I kind of knew what I was like getting into, because I have done like other 5Ks before. Like my school would have like 5Ks and like of support of like mental health awareness. So, I wasn't like, too worried or anything. And I woke up bright and bushy tailed. Is what I want to say, but
That's what I want to say.
the alarm went off.
Best
And I'm
laid
like,
plans.
yeah, I'm like, oh my gosh, like it's so early. And I was like, man, it's early. I was like, it's all right though. It's all right. Like my dad didn't raise a wimp. I'm a G. I can do this. And so we got ready. My dad was so awesome that he got us matching shirts for each race. So for the 5K it was Alice in Wonderland themed, and we did red shirts and matching red and black striped socks. My dad was the, and shout out to my mom because the outfit couldn't have been possible without her and letting me steal her compression socks. So I want to acknowledge her efforts because she wasn't sure if she'd get them back because her closet is just that good. And so like I my dad's already laughing. So I didn't know exactly what to bring. I was like, man, like, because I know like they played movies on the course and like, sometimes they have music. I'm like, man, do I want my AirPods? Like, oh my gosh, like my chapstick, the waffles. And I'm a type 1 diabetic, so I have to like a fuel a little bit differently than everyone. So I'm like, the waffles, the goose, my chapstick. And we left the room, and like right as we were about to get into the elevator, I was like, oh dad, I forgot something. And so I ran back into the room, and as we are walking out the doors, the bus leaves, and my dad's like, there's the bus. And I'm like, ooh. I was like, ooh, I'm sorry. And it was just so funny because I was like, oh man, like I hope we don't have to wait too long or anything. And there were some nice ladies like, also waiting with us. And we just got to talking, and I was like, it was really hard to wake up because, like usually with like my schedule, like I'm pretty good with like getting myself up and everything. And the lady was like, it's a lot more different when, you're waking up for something you signed up for, not just work. And I was like, yeah, that's something I'm learning in the adult world. But it was great. Like meeting up with the lizards for the first time. It was amazing meeting everyone. Everyone was so awesome, so welcoming. And we took our picture at 4, and then we just waited in the corrals, which I deemed, unfortunately, the worst part of the race. It was
I have a
just the
question
same.
though. Did
Yeah.
you throw up in the corrals? Because there have been someone on this podcast who threw up in a corral one time. I'm just saying, not. I'm not naming any names.
He or she threw up more than once though.
Those shoes never came clean, Gene. I had to pitch those shoes.
I forgot about that.
Not pointing fingers, not pointing fingers. I did not throw up in the corrals. I also did not go use the restroom in the corrals. I don't even think you could go use the restroom in the corral because they closed at a certain time.
Yeah, once you're kind of in that, fenced in area, you're kind of in there.
Yeah, ask
Yes.
Jeff. He knows.
I think you might have to just get friends to hold up towels or something. I don't know. I don't know what you do. If you had a problem.
Mhm.
So was the 5K what you anticipated? I mean, I know you've heard a lot about it races and you've heard a lot about,
Yeah.
you've seen a lot of pictures, but was it what you expected?
Yes and no. It was very fast. Granted, it's only 3.1 miles, but it went by very fast. And it was chilly. In my opinion, it was chilly. But it was great. Other than that, the atmosphere, the costumes, even though I said waiting in the crowds was not the fun part for me, seeing like all the costumes and seeing them interview people, that was great. I did not know that they were going to do that. So seeing that was good. I even remember this was my favorite. There was a mom and her daughter, and she took her daughter out of school so she could run the race. And she's like has to be in like elementary school. So I thought that was funny how like,
Parent of the year.
no, yeah. um, but it was great. It made me honestly the 5K made me more excited for the 10K and the half because I know like with the half they have more characters out. Um, my favorite part, of course, this was for all the entire weekend, but running through the park, like running the highway wasn't that bad or anything because I think we ran the highway for like maybe less than a mile if that. So it wasn't bad. It was great. I think it was a great introduction into my first Run Disney race, first event ever, and yeah, I was excited. Um, yeah,
Awesome.
I will say the costumes at this year, they took them to the next level. They had so many great costumes. Of course, you had the Mad Hatter and everything like that. But as the crazy thing about it is, as the races progressed, the costumes got more elaborate.
Wow.
they did.
And
They
I mean, and for the half, some of the costumes for the half, and I'm sure we'll talk about when we get there. I'm like, these people put some time, effort,
did.
and I'm like, they're not gonna be able to run in that. They probably will get swept, but they're gonna look good as getting on that parade bus because that's an awesome costume.
The theme for the 5K was what?
Alice in Wonderland.
Oh yeah, I'm sure people
Mhm.
were all sorts of fun costumes for that. That had to be great.
Mhm.
So
I
what did
saw
you do after?
Jack-
Oh, you saw
I saw
what?
Captain Jack Sparrow. I knew he was
Oh,
a highlight of Run Disney. So when we were like walking, like a herd to the start line, I just happened to look to the side and there he is, and I'm like, it's Jack, and like, oh, it was so cool. It was great. But yeah, sorry, I interrupted you.
no, he's great. He's in character the whole time. So,
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
well, it sounds like you had a great 5K. What did you do after that? So this is Friday now. You're finished by your race starts at 5 a.m. You're back at the resort maybe before parks even open. So what
Yeah.
did you guys do?
So we took a nap, but like it was supposed to be like a quick shut eye. And what happened, Dad? Where did we go wrong?
The
Because
alarm kept going off and you kept snoozing it. So and finally I was like, Katie, if we're gonna go to this park, you gotta get up. Because you're right, Jody. We finished, gosh, we were back in the room by 6, maybe 6:30.
yeah,
We were going to Hollywood Studios. Early entry was at 8:30, so we had a lot of time, right? So
that's right. Because
uh
we were supposed to rope drop Slinky Dog.
yeah, we did not about Slinky Dog, but that's okay. That's I told her, I said, this is your first experience. You don't have to hit the parks hard. But what we did do, because it is Hollywood Studios, we got Genie Plus. I think Genie Plus at Hollywood Studios is a must. And we got an individual lightning lane. So we did both, right? So I could just run down what we got a chance to see. We started off with Smuggler's Run. And this was Katie's first time going to Galaxy's Edge. Right. So
Yes.
even if we went to Disney the other time, she was like, we're not going to Hollywood Studios. But this time she's like, I want to do Galaxy's Edge. So she loves Star Wars now. She started going back and watching all the stuff. So we did Smuggler's Run. Then we did Star Tours. Then we did Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. And
So
then we had lunch at ABC Commissary.
Did you get the buffalo grilled cheese?
oh yes. So good.
Sure
First
did.
time, so good.
Mhm. After that, we went to see Chewbacca in Launch Bay. Then we went to ride Toy Story Mania. Once again, my daughter talked a lot of smack, just like her mom, until it's actually time to get the scores. Then we went for our individual lightning lane and went to Rise of Resistance. And then
Do you want to ask them? Do you want to ask them if they made it through Rise or did they get evacuated?
we made it completely through.
Oh, you didn't.
What do you think about Rise, Kate? That was your first time. What do you think about it?
So it was my first time. So I try to avoid spoilers at all costs. Like, I follow like a lot of Disney accounts, try to avoid spoilers. The only thing I had seen was, spoiler alert, if you have not ridden it, you might want to lower your volume. It was when like the door opens and it's like all of the the stormtroopers just standing there. That's the only thing that I had seen, and which I was okay with because that was like the main like picture when people thought of the ride. It was I feel like you can't really like it's a ride, but it's an experience. Like if you compare it to a ride, then like I feel like you're really oh it wasn't that good, but it's an experience. Like it was a lot of like in your face, like even the cast members were excellent. Like very of course very respectable, but also very in character, very like keeping up with everything. Um and it was great. I loved it. The people we rode with were even funnier, so that just made the experience a lot better. Um, and yeah, and especially since like I in the past I called myself a Star Wars fan, but then like whenever my dad would talk about it, I'd be like, oh yeah, like I know
He's
what
not
you
really a fan though.
yeah.
He's a pretender.
um, but now since I've watched all of them, I know what's happening, so it made it like that much better. So it was great. I loved it. I 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10.
Awesome.
Good deal.
Yeah.
So we left Rise and went back to Launch Bay to meet Dark Vader. And then we went to BB-8. And then we went to Rock and Roller Coaster. And by that time, it might have been, 3:30 or so. And then we just said, you know what? I think we did enough.
Yeah.
So I guess the point of we got to do all of that with Genie Plus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So we could have stayed longer and got a ride on Slinky Dog, but we were like, you know what? I think we made a plan every day to be back in the room by 4:30, 5 o'clock. Right. So we can get showered up again and be in the bed early. So we just left at around 4:30. Went back.
Good.
Yeah.
And then when did Jeff invade your party?
So
Jeff made the party.
He became an honorary G. There was no invading. He supported us in the corrals. Like he showed up for the picture at 4. Which is a lot more commitment than me because shout out to you, Jeff. But yes, he showed up at 4 for the picture, and then were you there at the finish line for the 10K? I think
for the 10K and a half, I got in Friday night, Jody. My plans kind of got changed around a little bit. My flight was delayed about 3 hours. So I was planning to hit the parks a little bit, didn't work out. Ended up dropping my bags and going straight to Disney Springs to try to get cookies. I could not get cookies. So I met up with our friends Troy and Christina from the Lizards, said they were into Springs too, and joined them for dinner that night. So we went to the Terralina. I'd never been there before. It's pretty good. We grabbed dinner at Terralina, then I went back and crashed because I had to get up at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning for the 10K on Saturday. So,
by the way, if you all haven't seen, Troy put an amazing Christmas display up. So I don't know if you all have seen that on Facebook, but he put some crazy Christmas lights up. I may ask him if I can share his video on this page because it's quite impressive. So
it is impressive.
It's awesome. So anyway,
can you see it? His house from space?
Yes, you can see it from space. Yeah,
good. Winning.
That's how I saw it. I took my rocket ship north and just said, let me look down at his house. Yeah.
Also, Jeff's flight was delayed because he didn't fly with my airline.
I knew you were saying that. It's fine.
He would have got there early if he did.
Right.
He would have.
Just
all right.
saying.
So you went to bed early, got back up day 2, Saturday, 10K. Same start line, but twice the distance now. So you kind of know what you're doing because you were there yesterday. Jeff was there to cheer you on, waiting in the, so Jeff, where were you staying, by the way?
I was at All-Star Sports. That was the only room that wasn't $600, $700 on property for the weekend. And it was more than sufficient for what I needed. I had one king bed, which had like 14 pillows on it. So it was glorious. So that was my base camp.
And you didn't keep anyone up with your snoring.
Easy now. Easy.
Well, so I'm just repeating what I've heard from Marathon Weekend.
Those myths have been proven to be false.
And on the way to 10K, let me just give a shout out to our friend Lizard Joseph. So Joseph Fickus, we actually started riding with him to the races. He was staying in Animal Kingdom as well. He was like, hey man, you guys are here. Come down, you can ride with us. I'm driving over. So we started abandoning the bus and riding with Joseph and his wife to the 10K and the half. So he's the real MVP.
Private car to
Exactly.
the
We got in the back of the car and we passed the common folk on the bus.
Quite the upgrade there. Quite the upgrade.
Yes, it was. It was, and he, Joseph knows his way around the park. We got there, so only caught the bus for the 5K. Caught the bus back at the end of the races because I told him, I said, we want to stick around for a little bit. Don't wait for us. We actually ran the 10K and the half with the lizards, with Joseph and all. I was like, you keep going. Don't worry about us. We're going to stop and take some additional pictures so Katie can really get the gist of the end of the race and everything that's going on. But really appreciate him for making our transportation seamless for the 10K and a half.
Yes,
That's awesome.
thank you.
Nice to have a friend like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right. So who was the coolest character you saw at the 10K?
The coolest characters.
Or most unique, or
We saw a lot of people. Luckily, my camera roll is full of them. Who did we see? That theme was Beauty and the Beast, and we wore all blue. Who? I saw Perry the Platypus. Perry the Platypus. from
that's the
Phineas
day
and
that
Ferb.
Perry was out.
Mhm.
Oh,
Yes, and that was fantastic. We saw Perry the Platypus, and we saw not Wilbur from Meet the Robinsons.
Yes.
Yeah.
We saw the son. Who's the son on Meet the Robinson again?
He had the wavy hair. I think his name is Wilbur.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
Wilbur. Okay, so Wilbur was there. We actually just missed the dad. He was
Lewis.
there as a kid.
Lewis.
Had just went to get swapped out, and by this time for the 10K, we ran with the lizards, right? So we jumped in with them. So of course we took all our pictures together, all the mile markers, and we stopped for the rare characters. So we got a couple of rare characters doing the 10K as well. I got to go back and look at them, but I'm gonna tell you, they bought out the characters for the 10K and the half. They really did.
I had some severe jealousy, I have to say. So you also, was it the 10K or the half where they had the Haunted Mansion dancers from the parade?
The half.
The half.
It was the half. It was right at the end, and like the only reason why we didn't stop was because we were so close, and I was like, Dad, we have to stay with the lizards. But like, oh, it looks so cool. So it was my first time seeing them ever, because I missed the Mickey's Not Scary. It was phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
The 10K had some of the rarer ones. Jiminy Cricket with Pinocchio was out. Little John and Robin Hood were out. Lewis and Wilbur was both out, and Agent P with Phineas and Ferb were out. The rest of them were mostly things that you see typically anyway.
Yeah, and we did
Little
take
John
a
and
picture
Robin
with,
Hood.
we did take a picture with Little John and Robin Hood too.
Yes.
Were they running
You have to.
singing Oodle Lolly?
Huh? I'm sorry.
Were they
Oodle-lolly,
running through the
oodle-lolly.
forest singing Oodle Lolly?
They were not. They just were standing there, and we all pulled up on them. We were like maybe 10 deep. They was like, whoa.
Was it the three fairies? Was that the half? It was like Merryweather, like from
Flora, Fauna, and Merryweather. My
yes. Was that the
And they
half?
had the prince with them too. That was the half.
fave. Philip.
Okay.
And it's worse, Samson.
You could put a gun to my head and I wouldn't be able to name 99.8% of these characters.
I say it's 99.9%.
I could name Robin Hood and Little John.
That's
That's
one
it.
you would stop for, Gene.
When he
I
said
would,
Little John, Gene was like, yeah, I didn't know his performance.
Yeah.
Not that one. Wrong one, Gene. Not that one. you think another Little John, not that one. Different one. So yeah,
Sounds like another great day.
Oh yeah, perfect weather. I'm gonna tell you. Of course, you have to drop off your Nylar.
Mhm.
And I bought some with us. So I gave one to Katie, and we had them so we could just flip them out. So, but once you started running, you drop the Mylar, and you're like, it perfect weather for running. Once again, we got the tape. So they ran the tape right in front of us. So we took a picture of the tape, and on the 10K, it was fine. It was good. I'm trying to think. It was great. I mean, it really was.
I think that's one of the first Wine and Dine race weekends that it hasn't poured down rain. I know we did it when the first year the races came back post COVID, and it poured that entire weekend. Like we were just drenched, and I know it typically is pretty wet that weekend. So
last year I cheered from the boardwalk because we were down there. We walked a 5K, but I cheered the 10K and a half from the boardwalk, and it wasn't raining, but it was very, very humid to the point where just everything was so damp. It was just like running through a wet towel.
Yeah, and it wasn't like that. The
No,
humidity
it was beautiful.
It was great.
So
In
Jeff,
fact,
you were there for the. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead,
I
Lonnie.
say, in fact, Sarah ran with us as well, Duck and Lizard. So Sarah ran with us, and of course, you guys remember from Release the Quacking.
Okay, so Jeff, you were there. You cheered. You were there for the start line, and
I
then
was
from start line to the finish line. Is that what you did?
My plan was to get there for the meetups in the morning and see everybody prior to that, and then when they went to the corrals, I was going to go try to get out to about mile 1, but security told me that if I would have went through there, I wouldn't have been able to get to the course and be able to get back into the finish line area. So when they went to the corrals, I just kind of went to the finish line area. I've never cheered on a race like that before. Last year, like I said, we started the boardwalk and then we kind of did our own thing. I know whenever we ran, it's nice to have people cheering us on the course and seeing people and seeing friends, and being there at the finish line to celebrate with them as they achieve things. A lot of people don't have that. So I tried to, that was the whole purpose of me going down, was to make sure I saw people that I went down there to see and then be able to celebrate them whenever they finish. So I stood at the finish line and cheered and waited for everybody to come through, and they ran their race. So
That's great. That's awesome.
It was great having Jeff there. He started us at the start line, and then, like I said, cheered at the finish line.
That's awesome. All right, so that was Saturday. What did you guys do Saturday after the race? Did you go take a nap again?
No, because we had plans to go hang out with Jeff.
We did.
So they went back to their rooms to get cleaned up. I don't know what the cleanup things was, but I went straight to Magic Kingdom from there. I played bus roulette and figured out which bus had the most chance of leaving first, which Contemporary won. And I took the bus to Contemporary, then just walked across to Magic Kingdom. We had set up our friends and family list ahead of time prior to them getting there. So I went into guest services and talked about DAS, and they said I still do qualify for that. So we got that added on for the 3 of us for our day at Magic Kingdom. Riley did not join me on this trip. However, she did make me an extensive list of shopping things that she would like me to bring back. So while I was waiting for them to show up, I hit the Emporium, wandered around a little bit. I grabbed breakfast. I grabbed a Cheshire cattail up by the teacups. And then I went over and got some sausage and gravy tots from Friar Nooks and had those. And by that point, Lonnie was texting and said they're heading back to the parks, and I headed to the front to meet up with him.
Awesome. So question, so you got there at rope drop, Jeff, right?
It was a little after rope drop by the time I got over there.
Okay.
I waited around for people to finish and talk to some other people and hang out a little bit. So I left after Lonnie and Katie, but wasn't too long after by the time the rest of my group of people I wanted to see finished, and then I headed over.
Okay, great. That's a good plan, though, to take the bus that was closest to Magic Kingdom and
right
there from there. That was smart. Yeah.
You know, and one of the things why I really like this race weekend is because they really start to kind of put up the Christmas decorations.
Yes.
So the tree was up in Magic Kingdom. You had the music playing. I mean, they had certainly not 100% decorated, but a lot of things were already up for Christmas. So that just made it it's just a great time to go.
So Thanksgiving, Halloween decorations were down, and all the Christmas decorations were starting to come. Wow, that's impressive. That's a quick turnaround, because I think they had a Halloween party the day after Halloween this year on like November 1st or something. So, wow, that's cool. That's great. Okay, so you guys were running around Magic Kingdom on Saturday, right?
I don't know if running is the direct, what we did. I think we strolled, but I have a list once again.
I think mine was more of a hobble.
No, you think Jeff did good. See, Jeff was, like I said, he's a real G. He was with us. We started with Tron, of course, had a lightning lane for that as well, because wanted Katie to experience that. Then here come Jeff knocking us out, putting us on some great rides. We did Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, Haunted Mansion, because, I mean, come on now, you got to do Haunted Mansion, right? We did the Jingle Cruise, right? So it's a Christmas overlay. Did the Jingle Cruise. We did Big Thunder. We rode the train. We did Space Mountain, and we did Tron again. So 2 Tron rides in one day.
That's awesome.
And that was between what 11 and 3 that we knocked all that out.
All that out. And we took it slow. We started off with getting some coffee, did all that kind of stuff, rolled through. So we just kind of took it leisurely.
That's
walked from
great.
side to side. So it was really good. We enjoyed it.
Sounds like a perfect day at the parks. Did you guys stop for any good meals? Did you eat in the park or did you eat outside the park?
We snacked around the park a good bit, but no, we just said, yeah, we'll grab some back at the resort.
Awesome. How long were you there? Because the next day is a big day. So, you've now done 2 races. Now you got a whole nother race after that. So how long did you stay in the park?
Yeah, so we left the park at, I guess, maybe 4:30. About 4:30.
I left a little bit before that to go back and take a nap to head over to Epcot Forever. And unfortunately, I pulled a Katie and repeatedly smoothed the alarms to the point where there's no chance I was going to make it over there. So I ended up, I figure my AP was already paid for in use. I was actually paying for the room. So I got value out of what I was actually spending money on and just crashed in the room for the rest of the evening.
There you go. Got to look at the
Right.
cost benefit
Good,
there.
good way of looking at it, man. Good way of looking at it.
Right.
Just, I'm doing that. So yeah. So it was an enjoyable day at Magic Kingdom. Look, the crowds weren't that bad, right? And we stopped and took a lot of pictures. That's one thing. So we took a lot of pictures, even when we got outside, pictures in front of, the train station. They had some, Mickey and Minnie topiaries in their Christmas stuff. Took pictures with that. So we were just taking pictures, just enjoying the day. Because I think 70 degrees, you think?
It was beautiful.
Not a cloud in the sky, a little breeze. It was great.
That's awesome. All right. So last night to go to bed early, last wake up call, Sunday morning, the big half marathon. This is the longest part of this race weekend. So up and at 'em again, 3:00 in the morning. Although you've got your private driver now, Joe's nice enough to drive you over there, so you don't have to deal with the bus. So you get to the race start. Now, Jeff, did you show up at the corrals again?
I was on first bus out of All Star Sports and was over in the corrals bright and early as well.
Nice. I'm sure it was awesome to see everybody and chat with everyone. And all right, so another lizard photo, and then get in the corrals, wait for your turn, and off to the races.
Yeah, started off, took a picture with Luminaire, then we took a picture with the Figment, and then the lizard picture, and then boom, corral.
I think our race actually started before your race that morning, Lonnie. So I'll jump in kind of ahead of you.
Yes.
So our whole group, you guys headed to the corrals to get in your cues for the race. And our group kind of took off to figure out how the heck we're going to cheer for this race because there's a lot of road closures around. We were going to take one of the buses over to the boardwalk. We figured that was a good place to cheer, and then take the bus from the boardwalk back over to the Epcot entrance. And we found that to be a little bit logistically more difficult than we anticipated. It was me, Emily, Chad was with me. Who else was there? Andrea and Nancy. So that we had a good cheer squad that just kind of all stayed together. Chad made the executive decision to call a minivan because they figured if anybody could get back roads, it's probably going to be them. And they were there when we got to the buses and they said, no, the minivan was there in 3 minutes. Straight over to the boardwalk. We were there before the first runners or the first World Disney people came through.
Oh, wow.
And set up and we were ready to cheer right beside Lou. So we got to cheer with Lou's group on the boardwalk. And we had to cheer quietly. We were in a quiet
not too much
zone.
cheering. Yeah, it's quiet zone.
They were pretty angry about clapping more than silently. No loud cheering at all. The runners could interact with us, but if we interacted back, we got yelled at. So
what mile was that?
Probably about 3 mile, 3.5, I guess. Somewhere in that ballpark.
Oh, so pretty early in the race.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really early in the morning.
Yeah. But if you're staying at the boardwalk and it's a race weekend, you expect this.
Yeah. Yeah. That's kind of hard telling people to be quiet for cheering. So.
And we actually got called out by groups of runners saying, wow, you guys are really energetic this morning. So, we're just like, we have to cheer real quiet. Great job, runners.
Yeah, that's the first time I saw a sign that said quiet, quiet zone.
Oh,
Yeah.
they were on it. I mean, they were very aggressive of no. So
That's
And
interesting.
this was my first time running through the boardwalk. And so like right as we're at the mile marker, it was pretty quiet. And I was like, man, like they need to pump up the jams. Like, what is this? And
It's like,
Elaine looked at me and she said, don't say that. They're gonna get mad. And I was like, why'd they get mad? Like, it's a race. I also saw the sign and I was like, well, that's just like
So just
it's a race.
knowing that, would you have cheered there or would you have gone to a different place?
we enjoyed cheering there. It's kind of early on. It's a big open area that was fairly easy to get to and fairly easy to transport somewhere else. We were able to see everybody come through, and the timing worked out very perfectly that the last runners were coming through just as the Boardwalk Bakery opened. So we were able to walk in and grab breakfast and have breakfast before we caught the buses back to the Epcot parking lot. So absolutely would cheer there again. Just timing worked out perfect.
And when you say the buses back to the Epcot parking lot, did you take like the resort bus there or was there
The
still
Run
a
Disney,
race
the
bus?
Run Disney buses
Oh,
after the races started were transporting family and friends back and forth to
Got
there to see people finish.
good.
So
That's
actually,
cool.
we
Yeah.
had tried to get an Uber, and the Uber or the minivans were taking forever, and they weren't coming. They were redirecting because of road closures. And then we saw the buses, and somebody pointed out that they're still running people back and forth for shuttles. So we just thought, oh, that's even better. So we walked down there, grabbed that, and took that over, and it worked out perfect.
Good to know. The art of cheering is something that I'm always interested
It is
in.
interesting. This is my first time like actively doing a cheer group following around races. I had a great time.
That's great. I think that's such a phenomenal thing that people come out and cheer. And I'm always amazed, like, how did you get here? I remember the full
Right?
marathon. I saw Scotty's wife, Elizabeth. I saw her at the TTC, and then I saw her right by the boardwalk. I'm like, how did you get here? Like, where did you come from? Like,
Right?
you're a little delirious at that point in time, anyway. But all right, so Caitlin, tell me about your half marathon experience. Have you run a half marathon before? Or was this your first half marathon?
It was my first half marathon.
Woo! Congratulations.
Thank you. And so I had run like 10Ks before, like unofficially. So I was not worried about any of the other races. But when I decided I wanted to do the half marathon, it was right around the time the training plan started, right when I graduated college and I was off to training for my job. And so, like I missed a few training runs here and there, and my dad was like, it's okay, you'll make it up, you'll be fine. And then when I moved to Minnesota, that was just like and like the whole training plan just went out the window. So I honestly would just pick a number and I'd be like, I feel like running 8 miles today, and I would just go run my 8 miles, and I'd be like, okay.
That's when we
And-
officially know you're a duck, is when you throw all training plans out the window and just kind of wing it.
Yeah, you just
And I told my dad that we were like 2 weeks out, and I was like, Dad, like I haven't run more than 10 miles. Like, how am I gonna run a half marathon? And he's like, oh, like what's the longest you've ever run? I was like, oh, it was 8 miles. And he's like, do you run that like consecutively, like without stopping? And I'm like, yes. And he's like, okay, well, you'll be fine. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna trust the process. Like, I can't see it, but hey, if you can, I can dig it. And so it was great. Very excited. It hadn't hit me that I was running like a half marathon because we were still standing in the crowd, and they're like, y'all are gonna be half marathoners after this. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's light work. And even speaking of light work, so I don't know how we got onto the topic, but we were walking because you have to walk farther to get to the start line for the half. And my dad said, oh, well, if you like this half, there's the half marathon and the full in Arkansas if you want to run it. And I said, you mean the full? He said, oh, I mean, I don't know if he can whip that out, but I was like, what's 13 more miles? And I told Jeff the exact same thing. I was like, what's 13 more miles? than what we're gonna run right now. Like, it's just 13 more. And so my dad was like, let's have this conversation after you and then get back to me. And I was like, okay, that's fine. And so we're in the corral. Dad, was he a lizard? He was like tall, like brown hair, kind of
Yes, he
like
is.
tan.
Hmm,
Yes, I
he
don't
is.
know his name, but he asked me if it was my first half, and I was like, yeah. And like, I made the joke. I was like, who knows? After this, I might be running a full in March. And I was like, what's 13 more miles? And I kept saying that, and he was like, you say that, but like, there's a half marathon, and then a full marathon feels like a half marathon with 3 more half marathons tagged onto it, and you're just trying to survive. And I was like, I wonder why he would say that.
Yep.
He did say that. I just remembered that. He did say that. That was funny. He's like, it's not like 2 halves. It's like
He was
a
so
half.
I
And
love that confidence. I love
he's
that
like,
confidence. I mean, it's
he
nothing.
said, he's like, there's like 3 more after that. He's like, you run a half, then you got 3 more halves after that, and then you just holding on for life. Yeah, I forgot he said that. That was pretty funny. He was a
Yeah,
funny
and it
guy.
was
the
so
math doesn't quite work. It's like you do a half and you think you're feeling good, and then somehow you're dying for the next 13.1. So
I mean,
Yeah,
it feels
and
like getting
so
hit by a truck over and over and over and over again, or something like that.
Well, I
yeah,
will
and
say this.
oh,
Katie did a fantastic job in a half. In fact, she was smiling the whole time. She picked, so I didn't realize this, but so we were all running and she started to kind of not fall back, but she was maybe 10 feet behind us as a group. And I keep looking back and I'm like, why is she falling behind? So I stopped and she picked up somebody. So Katie met
Sam,
somebody whose
the new
family had left
lizard.
her. Yeah. And now she's a
Yeah,
lizard. So she joined the lizard, but she was like, uh, our +1, right? So
yes,
she was with the lizards, so she started taking all the mile markers, and she was like, I'm sorry, I'm holding y'all up. My family left me. I'm like, well, you can run with us. And so she actually finished the race. It was her first half.
yes. So
Yeah.
I picked her up around like mile 6 or 7, and she's like, "Hey, like, are you a pacer?" And I said, "Girl," I was like, "I have no idea what I'm doing. The last thing I am is a pacer." And so she was like, "Oh," and she's like, "Y'all are just going at such a good pace. Like, I saw the 230 pace mark thing. I think that's what we were the closest pace that we were to, like, up there." And I was like, "Oh no, I'm just running with like my dad and his running group, and we're doing like run 30, walk 30." And she's like, "Oh, can I hang with y'all?" And I'm like, "Sure." Like, I'm Caitlin. She's like, "I'm Sam. My family left me." I'm like, "Oh my
Did you wonder why? I mean, what would just cause your family to ditch you?
Well, she had shin splints apparently, so
Ah,
she had,
yes,
and her family's like, you slowing us down, so we're bye.
so
That's it.
yes," and
they
like
go more to the
perfect.
every man for themselves motto than no runner left behind.
Exactly.
Hmm. I
And
They
get
so
didn't
that.
like
believe forward was a pace. They was like, bye, we'll catch you after you get swept. But she didn't. She made it.
yes,
She stuck with it and she made it.
no,
well,
yeah, and
Caitlin, you definitely have taken after your dad because he has definitely pulled along plenty of runners over the years. So looks like that gene passed on. Not gene as in that gene,
No,
but
Gene's still here. He did not. Gene did not pass on.
I did not
I've been
pass on
telling
that
him,
yet.
I've been telling Gene going to the light for a long time, but he doesn't want to go.
Gene is
not
still with
what
us.
I meant to say.
The
Oh my
reports of my demise have been greatly exaggerated.
God. Okay. Sorry. So I'm getting goofy now.
So Jody, I will say this. The half was Encanto. And the costumes, some people had actually clouds over their head that were lit up.
like,
That would be like lightning, like one of the characters. I don't know how they did it, but they actually had, and it looked like it wasn't connected by anything, just like a cloud. Like they had
it was
clear
Peppa. And
plastic something to
they had
anchor it
the
up
wand.
there. Yep. And it was lighting up like it was lightning. And they were running with that and had a bunch of Brunos. And
There's a lot of Brunos.
So
oh,
we
we
were
didn't
in
talk about him, but he was all over.
the corrals, and like, the costumes, like my dad said, as the weekend went on, they just got like more thought out,
Just
more
crazy
effort
to
put in.
me.
Mhm.
So we're sitting in the corrals, and I don't know his name, but he, like, the guy who interviews people, he found this group of guys who were dressed like Mirabelle, Louisa, and Isabel, and they had the wigs, like the dresses. You could okay. I hope this is okay to say. They were definitely straight, but like they were like bulky men, like in dresses, and one of them had like in the Olympics, like those ribbons, but instead of like a ribbon, it had flowers attached to it. So he would just swing his arm and like the flowers. It was incredible.
Yeah,
and
that was a
and
good costume. That was a really good costume.
and there was a Louisa, and like he was with them, and like he had the donkeys, and it was great. It was
Yeah,
so funny. It was so
yeah.
funny.
I don't know how people can do that for 13.1. That's impressive.
They had some costumes. I said, yeah, that person might not make it. They might get swept, but they're gonna look really good getting on that bus with that cloud. I mean, and really, the cloud would be turning colors and everything. It was the coolest costume. So you think about Encanto and the colors and how vibrant it is, right? Everybody had on these bright colors and all that. I mean, it was just a great race. I think that's probably one of my favorite halves. Probably because Katie was there with me, but that's probably one of my favorite halves that I ever ran.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's it. Finished across line. Katie's a half marathon. Took some pictures. Went back to the
Yeah.
room, and then we really took a nap. So I say sleep as long as you want because now usually I say don't go lay down after you run a half. Walk it out. But Katie was like, "Yeah, I need a nap." So I'm like, "Hey, we're just gonna just take a nap and that's it. Just
hmm
rest." So
So
we
You
slept for
said take
about
some
3 hours.
pictures, Katie. Katie, did your Ted take a lot of pictures this weekend? That weekend?
Oh yeah.
One or
did
two?
I?
Yeah.
No,
No,
did
yeah,
your
we took
dad?
a whole lot of pictures. Oh yeah, yes, we did. I
And
know what you're
like
trying to say,
when
G.
It's been rumored that Lonnie has taken more pictures since he started running Disney races than all of the pictures ever taken in the previous history of the world. Is that true?
That may be true. That may be.
I'm just wondering. Okay,
confirm or
Uh-huh.
deny.
proceed.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Yeah, but we ran through Galaxy's Edge, and it was my first time. Like, oh, it was so great running through it because the past 2 days we ran through Epcot, and they had Chewbacca and Ray, up in the on top of the building. I'll just say that. And like we could stop for like a selfie and everything. It was so cool. It was, and they had like the from like the Dapper Dans,
And
like
we're at
the
Spats.
Dapper Dans. What are they called? That yes, yes. Um, and it was phenomenal. It was great. I would definitely like do a wine and dine or just a Run Disney event in the future. Um, but yeah, after the half, the worst part was the sitting on the bus because when you're sitting on the bus, like your legs tighten up, and then like that was like the worst part. Like when I after my nap, I had no soreness. I went to work like the very next day, perfectly fine. Um, Honestly, the thing was that we napped the quick service downstairs, um, ate, napped, got up for the party, and we went to Epcot. To I was able to ride Test Track, and we tried a few of the what is it, Food and Wine festival booths and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like we got the Fry flight, and we were able to just try some things around World Showcase. The party didn't start till 10, um, and I feel like that's where the kicker is. There
Yeah.
needs to be like a buffer in between, like the for me personally, I'll know this for next time. A buffer in between the party and when you leave, because we left the very next morning, but we got back to the room like at midnight, literally at midnight, because the party started at 10, and my dad's Uber was coming at 3, but we still had to pack. So it's like 1 in the morning, and we're like, okay, we have 2 hours to like get a nap in before we have to like peace out. And oh, it was so funny. That day was like did not feel real. I was like, I'm so tired, but I'm a half marathoner, guys. Look at my
Yeah.
So yes, it was great. Definitely, if you're on the if you're thinking about doing a Run Disney, just do it. I'm interested in the Disneyland, the new race that they're starting, the Halloween half weekend, in Disneyland in September. So yes, I'm gonna try
Yeah.
and learn more of the behind the scenes from my dad, like the registering, and I might just have him do it for me. And the cues and the virtual, yes, behind the scenes. But yeah,
Well, I think registration's in February for the race, on the land race. So together, just like you guys helped me register for the upcoming springtime surprise, we're going to be registering as well. So we'll get you locked in for that one, Caitlin. So it'll be I don't know. We haven't decided as a group if we're going to go to that one, but definitely we can go and run that one. Yeah. So I will tell you so we got to the party because you still get in early, but we rode the Skyliner because Caitlin wanted to ride that. So we took the Skyliner all around. We actually took the bus to Hollywood Studios and then hopped on the Skyliner to ride it back to Epcot. Right. So just try that out so that she can ride it. Then she rode Test Track. We rode Remy. Guardians had a 2.5-hour wait, and that was at 11:30. So we did not ride Guardians, and we just went back to the room. And the next day we went back.
Yeah.
And that was our
I'll
trip.
say I was very underwhelmed by Ratatouille because I hadn't seen any spoilers, so I didn't know what it was. But like the wait time and the lines made it seem like it was this. Don't get me wrong, it's a great experience ride, but like it made it seem like it was this phenomenal, like fantastic, like I must do this before I leave ride. And I got off it and I was like, man, if I waited in line like authentically in like the regular line like at 2 hours for that ride, I would have been disappointed. But
Yeah.
that's just me. I was expecting something a bit more ride-esque.
And for the party, I think the wait was 20 minutes for Ratatouille.
And it didn't even break on you.
It did not. It did not break on us.
Yeah.
It's broken on me more than once.
And I can tell you this in closing, once we crossed the finish line and celebrated, I told Katie, I looked at her and said, okay, now turn around and run back.
That was the
Same
thing.
pack, back. I said, and that's your fool. Yeah,
Because,
leave it to Dad to really kind of help him put in perspective.
No, yeah, because mile 8, 9, I'm like, okay, this is the farthest I've run. This is taking a minute. This is a little long, but it's okay. We're going strong. Like I'm not fatigued. Mile 10, 11, I'm like, man, my feet are hurting. Where is the finish line? And then we were like, oh, 2 miles left. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And like people would be like, it's just a 5K. And I'm like, I want it to be a no cave. Like, I want to be done. But it was great. Overall, it was great. Definitely shout out to my dad for watching out for me and Sam. Sam, if you're listening, watching out for me and Sam and stopping by and standing in the porta potty lines. And I told my dad this. I told not Chris, Joseph, the one who drove us.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes, I told him that I did not like porta potties. Like my teacher in 5th grade showed us a picture of a toilet flushing in slow motion and then did a blue light thing so I could see all the germs. I was like, it's okay. Like I just won't use the porta potty because on my long runs when I would train, I wouldn't drink any water. But they expressed at the beginning of the race that like even though it's colder, you still need to hydrate. And my dad was also very on top of me about that. So I'm like, oh, this is like very small amounts of water. I can do this. I only have 8 more miles. And then we got to like the highway. It's like mile like 7, 8. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Like I have to go. I cannot wait. And like I also hope this is okay. It doesn't help when like the guys just run off the side into the forest. That doesn't help. And I'm like,
No, it
my
actually does help because then they don't take a line in the porta potty spot. So it does help, actually.
Very true. But yes, I sucked it up. I was like, just my dad's like, just breathe shallow or hold your breath and just in and out. And I was like, noted. So
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it
So
sounds like you had an
that's
absolutely amazing
stories.
weekend.
no,
Congratulations on you're no longer a Run Disney rookie. You earned all those medals and then some. Jeff, thanks for going down and cheering everybody on. Thanks for
Absolutely. I had a great time.
being there. Any other closing words of wisdom you want to share with anyone?
Nope, not for me. This is their trip.
You can do it.
Yep. Absolutely, they can.
Well, thanks so much for joining us and being a part of this. And we loved hearing about your experience. And I'm so excited for you. It just makes me happy.
I'm
No
very excited.
doubt.
I'll get up there with y'all. Dopey 2025, here I come.
Y'all are gonna have a great time.
Gene, you know
Great
you're gonna
time.
be there. You know you're gonna be there.
I'm about to bring my dad out of retirement because I know he's like, man, that's my last time I'm running a Dopey. And then I got into
Don't
Run
believe
Disney.
it.
Like, hey, I want to do a Dopey in 2025. He's like, oh, I'll do it with you.
Well, I told him we got it. I mean, it's Jody's birthday Dopey. It's John's redemption, his Dopey, his fool. Gene has signed up for more. I think Gene has signed up. He has skipped more Dopies than he actually ran, even though he signed up for them. He signed up for 4. He skipped 2 of those 4. So he has to do another one. You can't just keep,
Gotta
yes,
go out
it's
positive.
Mickey's money, it's not your money, but you can't just sign up for 4 and run 2 and be like, so you gotta run, 1 more, at least to get to 3. You can't just be sitting around with 2 Dopies. Get to 3 at least. So yeah, I'm looking to, if Katie does it, I'll do it. It'll be 5, then I'll hang him up for good.
Yeah, that's the only way you'll do it is if Katie does it. Yep, I know that story. I know that story.
Well, not Jody and John. We said we would do that for them too. So there you go.
Also,
Well, hey,
Mr. Jim, what does your name mean? Why is it just?
Oh, Katie, don't start. No.
Oh,
No,
okay.
bad
I
question.
didn't ask that. Just bleep that out. Just bleep that out.
I mean, so what it means is the
Oh,
Dallas
wait.
Cowboys are going to the Super Bowl. I mean, it's easy. It's easy.
Can we
It's
do
easy.
a dad joke and get off of this line right quick, please?
Hey, with that being said, we have come to the portion of the program that's your favorite and ours, and that's quacking up with the ducks.
I think Gene just did his dad joke with the name on the screen, didn't he?
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm gonna go in it. I'm gonna go around the horn, and I'm gonna, that's how we do it. You know how we do it, and ask you all to share something funny. Jody, you got anything for us today?
I'll try. Why did the robber wash his clothes before he ran away with the loot?
I don't know, Jody. Why?
He wanted to make a clean getaway.
Wow. That's great. I love it.
I know. That's just, I've dug deep for that one.
Lonnie G, what you got for us?
I just have a question for you guys.
Mhm.
Why do cows wear bells?
I don't know why.
Because their horns don't work.
Rocky told that joke in the original Rocky. I love that joke.
It's a classic. Adrian.
Katie, did you come prepared with a joke for us?
So yes, my dad told me I had to come prepared, but then I was like, man, like that's hard. Like, riding on the coattails of my dad, that's hard. And so I'm gonna do my best. I'm gonna try and channel my inner miniature Lonnie and make him proud. So why is smoking? Because not because I'm a flight attendant and smoking, but why is smoking prohibited at airports?
Why?
Because it's associated with a terminal disease.
Nice.
Good one.
Yeah.
Nice.
You did good. I'm proud of you. You did good.
Thank you.
Good job.
Yeah, Jeff?
Do you guys know what baby potatoes are called? Tater tots.
That was actually really good.
Yeah. As usual, I don't have a joke. My wife, though, I'll be married 25 years next week. And so, and thinking about, wedding and celebrating my anniversary, I got a picture frame for our wedding picture. And the frame is actually like 3 feet wide all the way around. My wife looked at it. She said, "That's ridiculous." I just think she needs to look at the bigger picture. So, hey guys, thank you again, Katie, for joining us. Thank you, Lonnie and Jeff, for sharing your trip with us. Congratulations, Katie. Lonnie, not a big deal for you. You've done it a bazillion times. You'll do it a bazillion more. Katie, nothing like your first Disney race. It's a memory. You'll never forget it. I'm so glad that you were able to do that. I'm so glad you're able to share your experience with us. Thank you, listeners,
so much for having me.
Oh, of course. Come back. And maybe leave your dad out next time. You know what I'm saying? Hey, listeners, thank you so much again. We just really appreciate you. This is fun for us. Hey, but it's fun to have you guys along too. I want to again encourage you. Reviews, 5-star reviews helps get the word out to other people to hear about us. It's amazing to us when people that aren't associated with us, that aren't connected to us, get connected to the show. We love that. Engage with us on all the socials. Jeff, am I missing anything? All the podcatchers you can catch us on. Disney with the Ducks. Obviously, that or you would be listening to us. You can. Hey, if you're not catching us on YouTube, you can watch us on YouTube too, and you can actually see it. So you can see what the beautiful faces of Jody and Caitlin. You can see. What you should be missing with me and Lonnie and Jeff, and John and Kevin. Anything I'm missing, guys? No?
This is the longest closing I think I've ever
Oh my gosh.
There's not even places I can cut and trim it out. You just keep going.
Oh my gosh. Hey, with that being said, we miss our guys that are not here tonight. And
Sherman wrapping up for 5 minutes is still wrapping up.
Quaharini.
Bye, friends.
Have a good night, everybody.
Positano. I'm just trying it different ways. Positano.
Oh.
Positano.
Hey. Oh, we love you, Gene. We love you.